For those of you who don't know me, briefly, I'll say a little bit more later. My name is Richard Gerard. I'm the host of the Gerard at Large radio show in the city of Manchester, which encompasses Manchester and about 20 other communities. We're not quite as colorful as some of our conservative talk radio friends here. I want to acknowledge Granite Grok, which is carrying this broadcast live. And there was one person that I missed in the acknowledgments is Karen Testerman here. I saw her in the audience. Did she skip out of the room? Karen is the founder of the Cornerstone Policy Research here in the state of New Hampshire, which has grown into be a rather formidable, nonpartisan, conservative issues and advocacy group. And if you see Karen, give her a tip of the hat, because she started something here in the state of New Hampshire that has at least made it competitive, if you know what I mean. Right now, I have I'm looking for Ben Krim. Ben, all right, why don't you come to the microphone, Ben? NHCCS likes to provide an opportunity for high school students who have developed a knowledge and appreciation of the Constitution for the United States to share that knowledge at this celebration. Understanding that today's youth are the future leaders of America, it is inspiring to know that some American schools still teach the Constitution. Don't ask about that in Bedford, New Hampshire. Anyway, they're very concerned with the UN Declaration of Human Rights there. And even more inspiring when presented with an opportunity to hear America's young speak clearly and intelligently on the constitutional principles in the tradition of our nation's founding fathers. We have such an awe-inspiring opportunity tonight to hear from Ben. He's a senior at the New Testament Christian School in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And we'd like to ask you to welcome Ben as he comes to speak tonight about the defense of the First Amendment. Ben, you have 7 minutes.
Can everyone hear me? Defending the First Amendment. Religious liberty is under attack today, as seen all over the world. As Americans' awareness grows, it is becoming obvious in both public debate as well as our original laws that religious and civil liberty do not maintain themselves. Since more and more Americans think we live in a pure democracy, many voices are constantly clamoring for desired protections and privileges to be enshrined in law. As we become more fully aware of and engaged on the issue of hostility toward religion, we can more effectively defend civil liberties and restore religious liberty to its proper place in American society. Religious liberty is our first freedom, not only because it is listed first in the Bill of Rights, but because without it, all other freedoms are impossible. The first part of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution states, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof." This provision guaranteed to all Americans the right to enjoy the free exercise of the religion of their choice without the government giving any preference to one establishment or denomination over another. The founders did not want to have the federal government serve as a watchdog over the state's responsibility to protect the rights of the people. If a state failed to function in protecting the rights of some of its citizens, the founders wanted the pressure to build up, forcing correction within the confines of the state, without any interference from the federal government whatsoever. There is absolutely no authority given to Congress to regulate or invade a citizen's freedom of religion. No right is absolute in and of itself. However, it must have a standard to define it. Philip Schaff, a great church historian, once wrote, "Destroy our churches, close our Sunday schools, abolish the Lord's Day, and our republic would become an empty shell, and our people would tend to heathenism and barbarism." Christianity is the most powerful factor in our society and the pillar of our institutions. It regulates the family, it enjoins the private and public virtue, it builds up moral character, it teaches us to love God supremely and our neighbor as ourselves. It makes good men and serves the public welfare. It upholds peace and order. In Article 3 of the Northwest Ordinance, written prior to our Constitution in 1787, but setting the standard for territories that would become states, it says, religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. Both religion and morality were not required as merely an intellectual exercise, but were essential ingredients needed for good government and the happiness of mankind. When founding the Public University of Virginia, Thomas Jefferson's bill made the following statement: "No religious reading, instruction, or exercise shall be prescribed or practiced inconsistent with the tenets of any religious sect or denomination." Thus, even decades later in our public school system, the only religious tenets to be taught under these restrictions would have to be those which were universally accepted by all faiths and completely fundamental to their premises. This, of course, was at a time when Christianity was dominant in the culture, and most differences were between denominations rather than various religions of the world. Jefferson and Madison were anxious to make sure that all privileged positions of certain denominations and churches be disestablished from state financial control. Furthermore, they expressed that all religious denominations be encouraged in order to promote the moral fiber and religious tone of the people. It was soon understood that the state can be as religious as they desire, Religious liberty was an inalienable right and is to be the foundation for civil liberty. Some think these ideals taught in the public schools will probably never be restored without a constitutional amendment, which must further define the right of the states to have exclusive jurisdiction over the determination of religious questions. At the same time, it would undoubtedly be the desire of the overwhelming majority of Americans that the states be required to give equal encouragement to all religions on a non-preferential basis. It is evident today that the First Amendment and its initial intent of protecting religious liberty within the states has been presented in a completely different way. But there are a rising number of people, including this present generation, that are fed up with seeing these rights of religious liberty trodden on for a means of safety. Let it be noted that once Christianity is no longer acceptable in our nation, other religions that do not embrace equality and freedom will be privileged, and the essence of the Christian faith that birthed this nation will be unfairly punished. It is time we make our cries heard and our intentions deliberate in protecting these freedoms. My generation must have a firm understanding of the Constitution and the original intent of the First Amendment. If not, we are to see a collapse of liberty in the future. My education comes from the New Testament Christian School, and I have been taught all these principles throughout my enrollment. The classes which have firmly planted my roots in such principles are constitutional law, economics, and I am currently taking foreign policy. Thank you for being such a great audience, and I hope these words captivated you and your thinking. God bless.
Drop tape.